You know, every single day we're online, we're faced with this constant choice, right? A kind of tug of war between sharing our lives and, well, just keeping our own peace. But what if the biggest part of our story online isn't even about what we choose to post, but what's being collected about us without us even realizing it? That's the invisible story, and that's what we're going to uncover. This really is the modern dilemma, isn't it? I mean, every time you open up an app, you face this exact question. Should I post this? This beautiful photo? This random funny thought? This little win from my day? Or do I just let it be, just for me, without an audience, without needing a bunch of likes to prove it happened? And there's so much pressure to perform, to document everything, to basically create this perfect highlight reel of our lives. When it feels like literally everyone is broadcasting 24/7, choosing to be quiet can almost make you feel like you're falling behind. Or worse, like you're totally invisible. And that is the central question we are exploring today. Because beyond the photos you carefully edit and the statuses you write, there is this whole other version of you taking shape. It's one you never actually see, but it follows you absolutely everywhere you go online. Okay, so let's start with that pressure to perform. Why do we feel this almost overwhelming need to share every little moment? The psychology behind it is, well, it's pretty fascinating. And this really gets to the heart of why we do it. See, there's a huge difference between posting something as a healthy way to express yourself and posting because you're on this kind of addictive hunt for validation. Psychologists talk about this, about the power of what they call intermittent rewards. You never know which post is going to get a ton of likes, so you just keep checking and checking, feeding that dopamine loop in your brain. It stops being about sharing and starts being about seeking proof from the outside world that you matter. And that's the deal, right? That's the trade-off. It's a transaction. You are literally giving up a little piece of your own private mental peace in exchange for a fleeting moment of public attention. And over time, that trade can really start to feel, well, not so worth it. So this brings us to the other side of the coin, the incredible power of choosing to be quiet. We have this kind of negative word for people who read and watch online but don't post themselves. We call them lurkers. But it turns out we've had it all wrong. Yeah, for a long time, this was the common thinking, right? That people who read but don't comment or post are just taking from the community without giving anything back. It was seen as this passive, almost selfish thing to do. But a completely new definition is taking shape. It turns out lurking isn't passive at all. It is an active, conscious choice. It's a thoughtful decision to observe, to learn, and to participate without needing to perform for all those public metrics. And get this number is just wild. In some online groups and forums, up to 90% of the members are lurkers. They are the silent majority. They're the foundation of the audience. So lurking isn't some fringe activity a few people do. It's literally how most of us use the internet. And the reasons people do this, they're actually really smart and super strategic. It's not just mindless scrolling. People lurk to better understand different viewpoints. It's called receptive reading. They intentionally hold back from commenting to avoid spreading bad information or getting into toxic fights. That's called participatory restraint. They gather information they need, and then they use it to take action in the real world, protecting their own sanity and the health of the whole online community. And it all boils down to this, really. Choosing to be quiet online is very often a sign of a deep, secure confidence. It's having an internal validation system that doesn't need a constant stream of likes and comments to work. It doesn't need an audience to feel worthwhile. Okay, but, and this is a huge but, even when you're being quiet, even when you've mastered the art of lurking, you're not invisible. Not by a long shot. And that brings us to this really critical idea. Because whether you are a chronic oversharer or the quietest lurker, every single one of us has something called a data shadow. It's like an invisible twin that's constantly being created as we move through the internet. So a data shadow is made up of all the little digital breadcrumbs you leave behind without even trying to. We're not talking about the stuff you choose to post, your selfies, your status updates. No. This is all the stuff you do without thinking about it. Like how long you scroll on a page, the ads you hover your mouse over, the emails you open, or just using location services on your phone. It's all completely unintentional. And this shadow, it's not just some vague outline. It creates this super detailed, constantly updating profile of you. It can map your interests, your habits, who you talk to, where you go. It can even make pretty good guesses about what you might be thinking about.
It's a version of you that is growing and changing second by second.
So what happens to this data shadow? Does it just float around in cyberspace? Not a chance. It is the fuel for a massive automated system that's designed to understand, predict, and ultimately influence your behavior.
And this is what we mean by tracking. So think about it like this. You're reading a news article on one site. That bit of data gets collected, and then it's used to decide what you see in your social media feed, which then changes the ads you see on some shopping site later on. See how it follows you around, from place to place, building a more and more detailed picture?
Here's how that plays out in real time, and it is a lightning fast. The very moment you land on a web page, a high-speed auction for your attention kicks off. Your data shadow gets analyzed, and thousands of companies start bidding against each other to show you an ad they think you'll click. The winner's ad is then loaded onto your screen, all in the fraction of a second it takes the page to load. It's incredible. So who's actually doing all this tracking? Well, the list is pretty long. You've got the obvious ones, like social media platforms and search engines. But the whole system is so much bigger. We're talking about thousands of ad tech companies you've never even heard of, all those third-party tools embedded in the apps you use, and yeah, even government and intelligence agencies. Okay, so hearing all of that can feel a little overwhelming. I get it. But the goal here isn't to scare you. It's the opposite. It's to empower you. Because understanding this invisible world is really the first step toward becoming a truly conscious citizen of the digital world. And this really brings everything full circle, doesn't it? The best defense against that pressure to perform isn't just being quiet, it's building a secure self-esteem that doesn't need those outside numbers. A fragile confidence is constantly chasing likes. A secure self-esteem? Well, that's knowing your own worth, whether you get 1 like or 1 million. So if there is one thing you walk away with today, let it be this. For a long time, we thought being digitally literate was just about knowing what to post. But today, it's a two-part skill. It's about skillfully managing the you that you intentionally create online while always being aware of the shadow you that's being created for you. So I want to leave you with a final thought. The person you show the world online, that's your choice. But your invisible shadow, that's a fact. So knowing that it's always there, following every single click and scroll, how does that change the way you want to navigate your digital life? The choice, as always, is yours.